And I'm live. How's it going? And I'm hearing myself. So this is what I'm doing today. The debates tonight, and there's also a debate tomorrow night. I want to do predictions. So I'm going to do predictions for tonight's debate, and then tomorrow I'm planning to do another live stream, and I'll do debate night predictions for that as well. I'm not going to be doing a live stream while the debate's on because I want to be able to really pay attention to what these candidates are saying. I don't have to worry about, talking about it while I'm watching it. So these are my live streams for these debates. And also, while I'm doing this, so just so everyone knows, right now I'm live on both YouTube and Twitch, which is pretty cool. And while I'm talking about this, I also want to take comments and questions and also just get the audience's prediction on what you also think might happen during this first debate, because here it is. These people right here. So this is who's going to be on stage, and this is also the order of who's going to be on stage. So Bill de Blasio, Tim Ryan, Julian Castro, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, and John Delaney. And as I said, that's exactly their position on stage as well. So you have Warren, since she's up in the polls, right there in the middle between Booker and O'Rourke. O'Rourke, I think, got super lucky with where he's positioned, because I don't think he really deserves to be there. Last I checked, he's nowhere really near the top, but I guess based on the polling that they were looking at for these debates, he did qualify for that spot. So, everything from who's in the debate to how the people are situated on stage is all based on polling, as well as how many supporters each of these candidates have in terms of individual donors. So everybody is exactly where they should be. I just think Beto got super lucky before his popularity dropped a ton once Buttigieg got in. But the other issue with this is that Warren is by herself, basically, in terms of, if you're just looking at who's in the polls right now, who's doing well. Warren is the only one on that stage that's going to be that's at least currently right now doing really well. Of course, anything can change. We look at this list again. It's possible Tulsi Gabbard may gain some support after this. It's possible that the media will latch more onto Cory Booker. I feel like Booker hasn't yet got his media boost, which a lot of these establishment candidates tend to get, or have gotten already. So I think it's very possible that Booker may get his moment here, and the media will try to prop him up next, because they're just going through the whole list right now. It's gotten to the point where right now they're even supporting Elizabeth Warren because they see there is a huge contingent of people that want a progressive president, or at least a progressive Democratic nominee. So for them, Warren is the lesser of two evils. For years and years and years, everybody else had to pick the lesser of two evils. Now the media right now has to pick the lesser of two evils, and for them, that's Elizabeth Warren. But as I said, I think it's very possible that Cory Booker could change that entire thing. All right, so I actually made a bunch of notes here because I want to go through each of these candidates and really give you some predictions on what I think might happen in terms of what they're going to focus on, who they may attack, that kind of thing. So I'm going to save the people that I think are the top four for the end of this list. So I'm going to start with Amy Klobuchar. So Amy Klobuchar, let me put that image up again just so you all know who I'm talking about, because apparently, there's so many candidates in this race that I think a lot of people just don't know all of them. Amy Klobuchar, you see her right there between O'Rourke and Tulsi Gabbard. So this is somebody that I really don't expect much of anything from. I think it's possible she'll go after Elizabeth Warren because she's the only other person. She's the only person on this stage that is in a great position right now. So it's possible a lot of these candidates will go after Warren, or go after progressives or socialists and try to talk about how the pragmatic way, or in their mind, the pragmatic way, but really the corporate way is the better way to go. Amy Klobuchar is going to be one of those people. I think she'll fall flat. It's possible she'll say something that the media will latch onto, and MSNBC afterwards will be like, wow, you see Amy Klobuchar say this? Wasn't that great? That's possible, but I also think that they realize as well that she just does not have the ability to gain the support that she needs in order to carry her through to any sort of, finale with any of the other big candidates. So I don't think Amy Klobuchar is really going to do anything except maybe attack Elizabeth Warren and talk about, her pragmatic way forward. John Delaney. So this is somebody I actually made a lot of notes on because he is such a phony. John Delaney is the guy that's been attacking Bernie Sanders for supporting Medicare for all. John Delaney talks about how, Medicare, I want universal health care. Of course, I want universal coverage, but I don't think Medicare for all is the answer. His answer, I guess, is somewhat of a mix of a public option kind of thing. But here's the deal with John Delaney. John Delaney is I think he's worth over $300 million or over $200 million. He's worth a lot of money. And he made his money in private healthcare. Of course. So John Delaney, this is what's going to happen with him. He's going to attack the socialists. He's going to talk about how, we can't have our party go socialist. That's how we're going to lose to Trump, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be, he may be vocally against Medicare for all. He was asked about healthcare, which is very possible. Actually, sorry, once I finish Delaney, I'm also going to go over the rules because there are certain debate rules that we should all be aware of because that's really going to dictate how these debates go. But so John Delaney will be vocally against Medicare for all. He's also going to talk about his humble beginnings because that's what John Delaney does. He's the son of a union electrician, John Delaney, self-made man. Here's the reality. John Delaney's uncle is John Rowe. You can look up this name right now, John Rowe, Johnrowe. He was the chairman and CEO of Aetna, a massive health insurance company. So John Delaney, when you see him in interviews, he talks all the time about how, I'm the first in my family. I started a business to go to college. I started a business. I did all this myself. I worked my way up. I lived the American dream. Never tells anybody that his uncle was the chairman and CEO of Aetna. Doesn't tell anybody that his uncle helped him start a business. John Delaney somehow had $15,000 to buy a company, a healthcare company, realized he wasn't able to make that much money doing it. So he went into a different direction with the company and got $25 million from Tom Steyer. John Delaney is not a self-made man. He's a fraud. But on stage, in this short moments that he'll try to present himself as this self-made man. I don't think it's going to stick because, apart from his phoniness, John Delaney just is not a likable person in general. He's not very personable. I don't think he comes off as likable, so I don't think he's really going to have much support. And if you look at his position on stage again, he's on the very end. So, he's even past Jay Inslee there on the very end. So I just don't think anything with John Delaney is going to stick. But that's what he's going to try to sell you. So there's that. All right, before I go to any more people, there are debate rules that I read about this morning. And I guess it makes sense considering how many people are on stage. So it's going to be a 2-hour debate. There's going to be no opening statements. There's going to be a chance to deliver closing remarks. I'm not sure that's the wording that NBC gives, chance to deliver closing remarks. I'm not sure if that means everyone's going to have closing remarks, but they'll be given the chance to. And this is the part that shows you this isn't really going to be a debate. 60 seconds to answer questions and 30 seconds to respond to follow-ups. That doesn't really give much room for anything. So this is more, I think, actually, in the NBC article that I read, Joe Biden referred to it as a lightning round, which is kind of what it is. There's going to be questions lobbied out, whether it's about healthcare, education, climate change, whatever. and they're going to have a minute to give an answer. I mean, you could really put anybody on stage there, because all you have to do is give somebody a quick minute response to any question about any topic, and they'll be able to deliver it, because it's pretty easy to memorize, or at least get the idea of how to fill 60 seconds on any topic. So these candidates are not really going to be pushed all that much. And even in terms of having to respond to other people, only being given 30 seconds to respond, I mean, it's not really going to be a discussion. It's not really going to be a debate. It's going to be mostly people reading off talking points, except for, hopefully, Warren and Gabbard have a little more to offer than just talking points. So, but I'll get to them near the end of my analysis here. Let's get to the next person I want to talk about. Actually, before I get there, let me just check the chat, make sure nothing's up with my sound or anything. All right, all looks good. Oh yeah, so whether you're on Twitch or on YouTube, hit subscribe or hit follow, and you'll be notified whenever I go live or whenever a video goes out. And also, if you definitely want me to get to your questions on YouTube, make sure you send a super chat, and I'll see all the super chats. Otherwise, it's going to be sort of a crapshoot in terms of what I actually read off. But all right, let's get to the next person here, Julian Castro. Now, he's the former Housing and Urban Development Secretary. He's more of so out of anybody here, for me, he's a total wild card. I'm not really sure what to expect from Julian Castro. He's had some progressive proposals, I believe, or at least trying to appeal to the left wing of the party. But he also went after Bernie Sanders over something. I forget what it was now, but he attacked Bernie over something. I just don't think... Look, I don't think you're going to win over a progressive base if you're going after the leader of the progressive base. So, do it. Not to say you... I understand the idea of doing that, but when Bernie's the clear and obvious leader and has been the one that has been, at the front of almost every single progressive issue long before they were ever popular, it's really hard to attack Bernie and not seem disingenuous. So I don't. He may do that here, but again, Bernie isn't on stage, so it would be maybe kind of odd for him to do that. He may. Yeah, I don't really see Julian Castro attacking anybody else, because I think he sees himself as a potential in somebody's administration. So maybe he doesn't want to put himself in a situation where he's just, vocally going after a candidate that may be the nominee. I don't know. I think he's a total wild card. I really don't know what to expect from him. Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan. So let me just go back to the image, because this is a guy pretty easy to forget. Tim Ryan right there on the left beside Bill de Blasio. So Tim Ryan is a congressman from Ohio. And when it comes to Tim Ryan, he's going to talk about how he's going to mention how he's from Ohio because, Trump won Ohio. He's going to talk about how we need to win back Ohio and all these Rust Belt states, and we need someone like me to do that. Basically, Tim Ryan is going to try and position himself as the alternative to Joe Biden. I'm not exactly sure how he'll do that, but I think he's going to make himself try and be more palatable to a progressive base than Joe Biden is, while also trying to communicate that same sort of working class message, though phony when it comes to Biden and Tim Ryan. But they're going to try to communicate that as much as they can. Now, look, Tim Ryan, from what I understand, he's not like the worst guy in the world, but there are so many candidates. This is somebody who could be easily shaved out of this race. He doesn't represent anything that nobody else represents. He doesn't need to be here. Like a lot of these candidates don't need to be here. But he's going to try and paint himself as the younger Joe Biden and a guy that's more kinder to progressives. Bill de Blasio. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, who is right there at the very end on the left. Bill de Blasio is This is one where I struggle with a bit, because I also don't know why he's in this race. He knows he's not better than Bernie. He knows he's not better than Elizabeth Warren or at least doesn't have as much of a chance at that as they do in winning this race. It's possible Bill de Blasio is in this race as an attack dog. He's already gone after Joe Biden, I think, effectively on Twitter. So it's possible he'll try to do that here, maybe more of a way to normalize some progressive issues. But since he's not a serious candidate, I don't really expect him to shine too much. But again, I mean, so much of this is so unpredictable because of the way the format is, and just because a lot of these people are new to a lot of the country. So when you have somebody who isn't known all that well, you don't necessarily know who's going to hit and who's not. So it's possible Bill de Blasio will say something that will be repeated the next day. But it's also possible we'll just completely forget about that he was ever on the stage. So I'm not really sure what to expect out of Bill de Blasio. All right. Last one before I get to the finalists, or I should say the bigger names here on the stage. Jay Inslee. So Jay Inslee, right there on the right beside John Delaney. Jay Inslee, you all know him as the climate change guy because that's what he's been running his campaign as, the climate change guy. So he's the guy that's called for a climate change debate where Tom Perez was like, no, we can't have a climate change debate. No, we can't do it. Climate change is just, it's the most important issue, but we can't do no climate change. I mean, if you saw that video, where maybe I'll find it later. But there's a video where there's an activist questioning Tom Perez. I mean, about how, look, you can attack this two different ways. On one hand, you could say, well, Jay Inslee just brought up, climate change debate as an idea, as a way to lift him up in the conversation, which, yeah, definitely. But also on top of that, there should also be a debate focused on climate change. It is an issue that affects all other issues. I mean, I'd also say that there should be a debate dedicated to money in politics, but that's one that's just not going to happen because, I mean, for obvious reasons, the media wouldn't play that debate. The DNC wouldn't be on board with that debate. But it's another issue that affects all other issues. So I don't know. It's hard to know with some of these lower tier people, like Jay Inslee, what they're really going to talk about, apart from their one topic, climate change. I'm sure he'll be asked a climate change question since everyone knows that's his thing. But at the same time, there are other candidates in this race that would be better on the issue of climate change, at least better in terms of implementing some solutions to climate change, or the effects of climate change, like Bernie Sanders. I mean, it's not only about the policies, it's about how you plan to get things done. So this is why I'm completely open with the fact that I think Bernie is the obvious choice in this Democratic primary race, because he actually has a plan to get things done once he wins. He understands it's not just about working inside Washington. He understands you need public pressure from the outside, pushing on these politicians in their various states. Bernie's talked about how he'd be willing to go to West Virginia to rally voters there, to push for Medicare for all, so that Joe Manchin would support Medicare for all in the Senate. I mean, those are the kinds of risks, and that's how far you have to go to actually push these policies through. Because it's not if you just play the same games that Obama did, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get politicians, or, in this case, Obama being the president, you're going to get him capitulating to right-wing positions on every issue. That's what happens when you don't have outside pressure. So Bernie building this political revolution, and his whole purpose being to put outside pressure on Congress, that's how you actually get these progressive policies implemented. So even though Jay Inslee may be angling himself as the climate change guy, that doesn't mean that he would be better at implementing real climate change policy than Bernie Sanders would, who has an actual plan to get these things done. All right, the top four. And man, it's getting freaking hot in here. That's why I wore a t-shirt today. So the top four. And yes, I'm drinking Heineken. Actually, how does it look on the green screen? Oh, it's still kind of green. Not completely. All right. What was I saying? So the top 4 candidates. The first one may surprise some of you, but look, the way I broke this down is top 4 in terms of who will be talked about most after this first debate. So that includes, the mainstream press, who they'll be talking about as well. So Cory Booker, I think, is going to be a top 4 in this debate, not because I'm going to be impressed by him, but because the media, I think, will latch onto him more than they have been so far. So, while it's hard to know exactly how. I mean, Cory Booker is going to be Cory Booker. He can be overly dramatic. He can sometimes have the right idea in terms of the way forward, but his policies never go all the way there. So, I think the reaction to Cory Booker will be mostly because of his performance and less because of actual substance. So Cory Booker has always been a guy that has dramatic performances. He'll have that again tonight, and I think the media will be fooled by it. So he's going to be a top 4 here. The other one, or there's 3 more. Former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke. So Beto O'Rourke, who actually, I should put this back up. So you have Cory Booker there beside Elizabeth Warren. That's another reason why Cory Booker, I think, is going to have more attention at the end of this night, because he's going to be right beside Elizabeth Warren, where all the focus will be. Beto O'Rourke, another person who will benefit from being right beside Elizabeth Warren, with the focus on him as well. So Beto O'Rourke is going to talk about, how what I did for Texas, I'll do for the rest of the country. I'm going to lift, millions of people up, and we're all going to get excited out to vote for me, and blah, blah, blah. That's what he's going to do. He's going to talk about how he created this excitement in Texas and almost won. Somehow that means you're qualified to run for president if you almost win something. But he's going to do that and try to create this idea that, because he was able to do it in deep red Texas, well, then Beto O'Rourke can do it across the country. But as you've seen, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Beto O'Rourke. I put out a video today on his war tax. So his tax where he wants to tax families that aren't in the military in case in the case of a war, as a way to deter Americans from supporting war, even though if you look at any poll, the vast majority of people do not support war already. You don't need to put a tax on people who don't want to go to war as a way to deter people from going to war. I mean, the whole thing is so stupid. You should be actually, if you want to actually implement that, put the tax on the defense contractors. Don't put the tax on the average person. It's so stupid. But yeah, those are the kinds of ideas that Beto O'Rourke has out there. They're just weird plans that maybe would work in something like in a state like Texas, but are not going to work worldwide and or nationwide. And he doesn't even support, Medicare for all. He's wavered on a million times. This is a guy, much like Pete Buttigieg, Beto O'Rourke is an empty shell for special interests. So, I mean, I think he said he doesn't take corporate money, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have private fundraisers. From my understanding, every candidate in this race has private fundraisers with special interests, except for Bernie Warren in the primaries and Tulsi Gabbard. So that's kind of where this whole debate begins and ends with me. If you are meeting face to face with special interests, with wealthy people, with billionaires, with large corporations, even if you're not getting money from a PAC, a corporate PAC, you are still getting money from these private special interests in private situations where you're having these private conversations. So that's where the line is drawn. If you're not relying on individual donors and grassroots support and volunteers, then how can anybody possibly trust you? So that said, the media may have their second fling with Beto O'Rourke, potentially because of the attention he'll have by being situated beside Elizabeth Warren. And yeah, I think I said everything I need to say about him. Second last here, Tulsi Gabbard. So I think Tulsi Gabbard will not stand out for the mainstream press. I think it's very likely they won't even pay attention to her. If they mention Tulsi Gabbard, here she is. She'll be beside Klobuchar and Jay Inslee. So if they even mention Tulsi Gabbard, it'll be in a way to criticize her. So what really sets Tulsi Gabbard apart is her foreign policy. It's very possible she will try to angle herself against Elizabeth Warren, talk about how she agrees with Elizabeth Warren on many of these progressive issues, on Medicare for all, whatever. But then also add in, but Elizabeth Warren, she adopts the same foreign policy that we've already seen the past 30 years. Whereas, I'm against regime change, I'm for peace, and blah, blah, blah. So Tulsi Gabbard is going to, if I were advising her, I would advise her to do that, to make sure that she cuts a lane out there, clearly defining herself as somebody that has a different and more progressive foreign policy than Elizabeth Warren does. That would be the way to help her stand out. Otherwise, apart from progressive shows, I don't think she'll get much attention unless she has, some zinger line or something, which is possible. But Tulsi Gabbard generally is, her demeanor is very calm, very cool, very collected. I don't think that really plays well for a debate like this that has so many people on stage. So because of that, I think she'll kind of get lost in the shuffle. But I think when she does say things, I think they'll be of substance and importance. Last up, I think this one's a little obvious. Elizabeth Warren. So Elizabeth Warren, who of course is right there in the middle beside Beto O'Rourke. I think Elizabeth Warren is going to have a strong night. I think because she is a front runner right now and the clear front runner on that stage, I think she'll be able to use that moment to really sell her ideas, talk about her in-depth policy proposals, talk about, I was gonna say healthcare, but yeah, that's like the one issue she's like not that great on. So she signed the Young Turks Progressive Pledge. And in their progressive pledge, it has Medicare for all as one of the policies that you are going to fight for as president. Look, these pledges, as far as I know, aren't legally binding. So she could say, well, yeah, I'm fighting for Medicare for all by pushing for a public option because we're going in the right direction, right? So I'm still fighting for it. It's still long. It's down the road somewhere, but I'm still fighting for it. Until she actually talks about Medicare for all on stage and talks about how that has to be the focus, it's hard for me to trust her on that issue. That said, when it comes to, Wall Street, I think it's going to be clear that she knows what she's talking about. She has a history of critiquing Wall Street and putting regulations on Wall Street. I think when it comes to income inequality, she'll be strong. So there are many domestic issues that she's going to be solid on, and she'll continue selling that to the American people in this debate. But if it turns to foreign policy, I'm very curious what she'll say, because I don't even really know what her foreign policy is. I mean, we've seen moments of it, and it's changed over the years. So I mean, back in 2014, she was heavily defending Israel, and then I think last year she put like one tweet or one statement out there talking about how Israel needs to kind of, step back a bit because of their abuses of the Palestinians. But for the most part, she adopts the democratic line, the status quo on foreign policy. She doesn't challenge the system. So because of that, she voted for the increase in the defense budget. So I don't... Yeah, if the discussion turns to foreign policy, I think it may hurt her, honestly, because she's going to sound like everybody else, and that's going to take this mask off of people take the mask off of Warren for people that think that she is this different candidate, that this really transformative candidate like Bernie Sanders is. It's going to be clear there is an obvious distinction there between her and Bernie, but also she isn't on the same stage as Bernie, so that distinction may not be there. But because of that, if you have Tulsi Gabbard on there on the other end of that discussion with Warren on foreign policy, then there is the potential to see the obvious differences on how Warren isn't as strong on those issues. But because the answers are so short, 60 seconds each, the responses 30 seconds each, it's unlikely we're really going to get into any depth on any of these issues. All right. Do I have more? No, I don't. So overall, I mean, the winners, when we talk about winners, we have to think about, what does that mean? So if we're talking about the winner in my eyes from this debate, just what I think Elizabeth Warren's going to come out strong. I think Tulsi Gabbard will come off strong. And let me look at the stage here. I mean, it's possible Bill de Blasio says something solid and maybe attacks some moderates on stage. I hope that happens. Otherwise, there's no reason why he should even be in this discussion. But basically, Warren and Gabbard, I think, will come off strong to me. Now, to the rest of the media, I think it's going to be Cory Booker. I think Cory Booker and Elizabeth Warren. So I think Elizabeth Warren will actually have a solid performance for both progressive shows like myself as well as the mainstream press. But Cory Booker will also stand out to them as well. I think, look, it's possible, Beto, though I'm beginning to think he's almost done. So I don't quite think Beto's going to do too well. But Julian Castro, since I called him a wild card, it's very possible Julian Castro will get some attention as well. Everybody else, I think, will kind of just be flat. So those are my thoughts. But I want to know what everybody else thinks. So I'm going to hit the chat now and find a way to read all your chats. First, I will start with let me get this over here. All right, first I'll start with super chats if there are any. I think I have to go to a different page. Hold up. I will find this. All right. Oh, wait, that's not it. Why does YouTube make this so hard? All right, I'm going to try to do this later. Let me just go to the super chats that I can see. I'm sorry if you sent one earlier, I will find it. Just for some reason, YouTube is burying it more than they usually do. So I'm having a problem finding them. But I saw. Oh, great! Now I can't even find it. All right. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to be right back while I find what's going on here. And then I will answer the chat. I will take more chat questions, and I'll be right back. All right, I just got to say, YouTube is totally incompetent. I mean, this is why I don't have a Google phone. They're just everything they touch, software wise, is just completely garbage. So like, it's amazing how many times it's not just me. I see other people that do these these chats. They like bury super chats every time. I finally found it in a different tab, but like it's not showing in the same tab it was last time. Hopefully they're all showing up here. There actually are quite a bit of super chats here, so I'm glad I found this tab. But again, Google is just the worst with user interfaces and just software in general. But all right, let me take some super chats here. Pirate Truth Seeker, big fan, first time live from Cornwall, England. Awesome, thank you for watching. Milo Wadlin, who I recognize and see a lot. Yay, David, thanks for your super chat. Again, Retro Pirate Truth Seeker. Cons, superdelegates will eliminate progressives. Oh. They're trying to say superdelegates are going to... So, it's not a discussion I want to get into. Okay, so if I'm getting the gist of your short super chat there, you're saying that there are all these candidates in the race, and then it'll get to, say, the convention, and then they're all going to join to one of these candidates like a Biden, and then cut out Bernie. Look, that can happen. But I don't see the point of worrying about shit that's not here right now. So that's kind of my thought on that. I just don't like anything bad can happen all the time. We could be hit by an asteroid. I mean, just let's just live life as it comes and understand that, yeah, people are always working behind the scenes to cut out progressives. Of course they are. I mean, their money, their livelihoods depend on it. So that's what people need to understand here. It's completely normal for the media, for the DNC, for these corporations to all be going after Bernie Sanders. That's completely normal because it's in their best interest. All you can do is educate other people so that they're aware of what's going on, so that they're aware of who to actually vote for, they're aware of who to give their money to, who to support. That's all you can do because, again, we are all against these giant machines that have all this money. Pragmatic progressive. Is there any advice you would give to newer progressive channels? Also, what are your thoughts on nuclear energy? Have a huge fan. Keep up the good work. Advice I would give to newer progressive channels. Be consistent. That's the most important thing. Be consistent. Do your research. Make sure you are presenting what you know to be factual. Yeah. Be dedicated to your craft and find your voice. Don't simply try to copy what everybody else is doing, but find out what interests you, what you enjoy doing, and find your niche and just be consistent. Being consistent is the most important thing because people need to know that you're actually going to be there when they want to, be entertained or learn something. So putting out videos, putting out a video, maybe if you're just starting off and you have, a job and you can't focus on the show the entire time, put out a video every 2 days or maybe even once a week. But start building it up to the point where you're actually getting something out every day. Unless you're, you could be also one of these channels like ContraPoints where you take weeks to put something out, but what you put out is, well produced. It's like a half an hour long. You can also be a channel like that. So it's about finding your voice and being consistent. And when it comes to nuclear energy, I have no real thoughts, to be honest. I'm not educated enough to really give an opinion on that. Fathers Gregory Shotgun. Also watching from England. Thank you for your super chat. Old Sea Dog 91. Do you think Inslee is making a serious run or just hoping to put climate change front and center like Lawrence Lessig tried to do with election finance reform? So, look, when it comes to Lawrence Lessig, I actually think he wanted to win. I mean, I think he thought that if he got on stage in a debate and was able to get the message out there, that he would be able to gain support and actually be able to. So for those that don't know, Lawrence Lessig was kind of a candidate in the primary, in the Democratic primary in 2015, 2016. He ultimately dropped out because he wasn't allowed in the first debate. Lawrence Lessig is somebody who is vocally for election finance reform, wants public financing of elections, understands how much money impacts politics. So I actually, going back to that race, I actually supported Lawrence Lessig even above Bernie Sanders at the time because the idea for Lawrence Lessig was he just wanted to get money out of politics and then leave. So basically, his VP choice, say he chose Bernie Sanders as his VP. Lawrence Lessig's whole thing was to simply, if he became president, get money out of politics through whatever means necessary, and then step down and have Bernie take over. So it's kind of a fantastical idea. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I think it's possible. Jay Inslee wants something like that, but Jay Inslee isn't talking about, from my understanding, stepping down. So Jay Inslee actually wants to be president. He's just focusing on climate change, which, yeah, it's important. But look, my impression of Jay Inslee is that he actually wants to raise his own profile, and my understanding is he isn't actually the best candidate for climate change. He's just using that as an issue to raise his own profile. Look, I don't know him enough to say that's for sure, but that's how it comes off to me. So I wouldn't really put him in the same camp as Lawrence Lessig. Sebastian Umarez, what issues do you prioritize? What issues do I prioritize? Well, first of all, I prioritize air conditioning since it's freaking hot in here. I prioritize, man. So it depends so much on. I mean, if you're talking about America, really, actually, climate change should be number one. But the reason why I pause for a second is because money in politics in America is the biggest issue, the biggest barrier to doing anything about climate change. So money in politics really is the most important issue when it comes to American politics. Then climate change for everybody else, every other country, I would say climate change should be the number one issue. And then anything dealing with poverty, with income inequality. So, higher wages, ensuring you're taxing the rich a lot more, ensuring universal health care. So it's so hard to pick one because all of these they all kind of work together, right? Money in politics blocks any issues or any progressive legislation on healthcare, on climate change, on wages. So a lot of these work off each other, and climate change also affects every other issue. So it's, yeah, questions like this are too big that they end up just hurting my brain and shutting me down. So really, there are too many issues to even be able to pick one out of the whole bunch. Great Random Gamer. Thoughts on Rojava, Libertarian Socialist Kurdistan. I'm looking to move to Syria to fight and perhaps even die for the revolution in some years. No comment. So your questions is above my head. I'm not going to pretend like I know what's happening there. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to... So, look, I touched on this in a video in the past. Generally, foreign policy is not my issue. But, look, I support the Kurds. I think that when it comes to pulling out of Syria, I think it's important to have some support still there to support the socialists there on the ground, to support the Kurds there. But yeah, generally it's not. Let me just look this up for a second. Yeah, so I don't know, to be quite honest with you. And when it comes to, you fighting and dying, yeah, that's a kind of conversation I've never even had to think of in my life. So for me to even, try to tackle what you may be doing, yeah, I don't even want to comment. You do you. Do what you feel is the right thing to do. Joel Stewart, let's do a 5-second video poll leaving the hashtag real poll showing the support to Bernie. Then we can compile the video and put a face under. All right. I can't do that. So if there's some movement to do this 5-second video, again, I don't know. But thanks for your super chat. Next question, Richard Atkinson. Love your show, but disagree completely. Warren versus Gabbard. Warren sat out 2016 battle. Vote for Trump's military spending. Said she'll take corporate money in general. Defends Joe Manchin. Wishy-washy Medicare for all. Look, the reason why I focus more on Warren than Gabbard is because Warren actually has a chance right now. And I don't think my channel is big enough to really throw support towards Tulsi Gabbard. So this idea that if I talked about Tulsi Gabbard more, she'd have more support, I just don't think that's true. So when it comes to the focus on the top 5 candidates right now, so you have Biden, Bernie, Warren, Buttigieg, and I guess Kamala Harris. Bernie and Warren are the clear choices in that group. Now, if Tulsi Gabbard somehow breaks out after this first debate and gains a ton of popularity, then and maybe even rivals Warren in polls and support, then yeah, I think there's a fair debate to have there. But as it stands now, I think Warren is a clear number 2. That said, I think Bernie is a clear number 1, above and beyond Elizabeth Warren. Let me just open the window here because holy shit, you can see I'm like sweating. These lights are too friggin' hot. I'll be right back. All right, I like this be right back slate. I could just step out anytime I want. Okay, opened a window. It's a little better. The problem is it's like 28 degrees outside today, which Celsius. So I'm not even sure what that is Fahrenheit. Actually, 28 Celsius to Fahrenheit. All right, it's 82 degrees. So considering it's been more like 15, which is 59 degrees, it just got really hot all of a sudden, and I'm dying here. But I'm back now. All right. Let's get to these super chats. And again, don't worry, Twitch people. I will come back and engage with you as well. By the way, mentioning Twitch, Bernie Sanders, if you have a Twitch, apparently he's going to be streaming on Twitch before and after the debates. I believe tomorrow's debate, the one that he's in. So Bernie_Sanders on Twitch. Follow him. And look, I'm not sure if it's going to be a stream specific to Twitch. That would be kind of funny, actually. I think it's more so going to be him streaming everywhere. So I think he's going to stream to Facebook, to YouTube, and Twitch all at the same time, like I'm kind of doing right now. So gotta say, though, Bernie's been a leader on every issue, but I joined Twitch before he did. So I guess I'm the leader when it comes to Twitch. Okay. Let me revisit a couple questions here because I feel like I didn't give them the proper answer I should have because I was sweating my ass off. Joel Stewart, let's do a 5-second video poll, leaving the hashtag real poll, showing the support to Bernie. Then we can compile the video and put a face under sample. Your sentence doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think I know what you're saying. I just it's a good idea if you're heading up his campaign. It's not going to work if you're a super chat on the Rational National. We're not going to be able to start that. Richard Atkinson. Oh yeah, this one again. So Warren versus Gabbard. Yeah. Okay. So I agree on the analysis that Warren doesn't have the political chops or the balls necessary to really get done what Bernie can get done. And Gabbard, on the other hand, dropped out of the DNC to support Bernie in 2016. That's really what brought a lot of people to Tulsi Gabbard, that she did that. I mean, that was a huge move of her to step down from the DNC and talk about the pressure from within the party to support Hillary Clinton. That said, I mean, Gabbard hasn't really introduced much of anything since announcing her run. Warren's been putting out plan after plan after plan. Gabbard has absolutely a better foreign policy than Elizabeth Warren does. But Gabbard has not as much to offer when it comes to domestic policy that Elizabeth Warren does. So, I mean, there's a real debate there. And if you're simply discussing so you mentioned how Warren defended Joe Manchin. Gabbard, a few days ago, defended Joe Biden. So, look, that surprised me a little bit. She could have said nothing. I mean, even if Tulsi Gabbard agreed with Joe Biden or didn't think anything Joe Biden said was bad, she could have just kept quiet. But she appears to be angling herself at least a little bit towards the center, at least on maybe on social issues. I don't know, but that's what Gabbard did. So you have to, if you're going to criticize Warren for going after or for defending Joe Manchin, then you also got to criticize Gabbard for defending Joe Biden. But yeah, on the issue of Medicare for all, completely agree with you. Warren is not to be trusted because she hasn't been clear so far. Okay. There are a lot of super chats. You are all great. Let me read another one. From Vikram Loth. Which candidates do you think will come out of nowhere and surge in the polls after the first debate? Good question, and one that's on topic. So let me put up the that panel again. All right, who do I think will surge in the polls following this debate? Well, I'll tell you this. I think the media is going to latch on to Cory Booker a bit more. So I think if the media has their way, it's very possible Cory Booker will jump in the polls after this debate. Because, for one, he's beside Elizabeth Warren, so he'll have a little more attention than he would have had otherwise. Also because he is friendly to the corporate establishment, while also, at least in the media's mind, they may think he has potential appeal to progressives. So I think they're going to latch on to Cory Booker a little bit more, and it's very possible that the mainstream press latching on to Booker will allow him to jump in the polls. So if I'm going to pick anybody there, that's my prediction. Cory Booker. Back to the chat. Let's vote. Fave candidate on tonight. That's from Retro Pirate Truth Seeker. I think I said already, Elizabeth Warren is my favorite candidate on that stage. Adrian Pien. Again, Elizabeth Warren, because she's in the top 5 and actually has the potential to overtake Joe Biden. If we're going to throw Tulsi Gabbard in there, it's a toss-up. I think Warren has stronger proposals on domestic policy, but she's weak on foreign policy. There is no perfect candidate on that stage, in my opinion. Adrian Pien, super chat. What's the best way to reach you? Probably on Twitter. I read most of my tweets in my mentions. That, not to say I read all of them, but I can usually catch up to what's going on Twitter. I got to be honest with you. If you've emailed me in the past 6 months, it's very likely I did not reply to you because I get too many emails now, and I don't. I also get a lot of spam, so it can be hard to decipher what's spam, what's not. It's very likely I just completely ignore your email if you email me. So the best way is on Twitter. Retro Pirate keeps sending me super chats. Live chat vote, David. Can I do that? Can I add a poll in the chat? Let me see if I can do that. Okay, well, I can't figure it out right now, and I don't want to bore everybody, but that would be a good idea if I could figure out how to do it. You know what? I'll do a poll on the community tab on YouTube afterwards. If Twitch has anything like that, I'll do it there as well, just to ask. Maybe I'll do it after the debates to ask you who you think won the debate. But again, I mean, I'm picturing the answers in my head. It always just defaults to people in their various groups. Look, it's very possible that Warren has a bad night And if she has a bad night, or if Tulsi has a bad night, the supporters of either of those candidates should be conscious enough to, or at least honest enough to be able to admit it. But they likely won't. So even a poll saying, who do you think won the debate? Say Warren crashes and burns or Tulsi crashes and burns. They're still going to do well in the poll because they have a built-in support base. So polls like that almost are just kind of pointless. Marcus XC94, Delaney, Pete, Moulton, and Gillibrand are pushing for national service requirements for U.S. France did too. Thoughts? Will Trudeau try something similar? F no. I mean, he might. No, I don't think Trudeau would, but that would be dumb and horrible. I think it's a horrible idea to require national service of Americans. No. I mean, again, it also matters what you mean. Do you mean military service, or do you mean public service in some way, or volunteer service in some way? I mean, there should be, if you're going to require something like that, it should be more broad. Like, volunteering should count towards that kind of service because you are volunteering your time to, say, help the homeless, for example. Or, I don't know, even like, maybe if you're helping to build infrastructure, that counts as national service. So if you want to have a broader definition, then I think we could have a conversation. If you're talking about military service, you have to be in the military for some point in your life, like for like a year or 6 months. No, I don't at all believe in that. Ex-Prophet on Super Chat, if Biden wins, should we vote for him and why? All right, this is a conversation I've had I don't like having because we're not there. So you know what? I don't want to waste time on it unless that actually happens. And if we get to that point, then I'll discuss what I think and why I think what I think. But let's not have these conversations that are just, again, just imagine the worst case scenario and then trying to think about how we're going to get out of it. It's almost like it's like building a bomb shelter. It's like, well, I get it. Actually, even to be honest, having a bomb shelter makes more sense than talking about Biden winning the nomination right now, because I think there's more of a chance of a bomb hitting us all than Biden winning the nomination. I don't think Biden's going to win. I know he's in the polls high, but he keeps every poll that comes out, he goes down a little bit more. Bernie and Warren gain a little bit more. I don't think it's going to happen. So there you go. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker, again, always get this problem with live chat time limit. All right, I don't know what you're talking about, but thank you for all your support. You are a massive supporter right now. All right, there's more super chats. Oh my goodness. Okay. Before I get to those, let me look at Twitch because I'm sorry, Twitch people. I've neglected you. I feel really bad. See what's happening on Twitch. All right, I see. Just to make it super easy for myself, I'm just going to look at the ones that have actually tagged me in the chat and potentially respond to those. All right, I don't know what this is about. I already don't know what the first word is. The Catering made a video saying Bernie Sanders trying to ruin the video game industry or something equivalent to that. You might want to check out one day and make some content out of that. Okay. Yeah, I don't think Bernie's trying to ruin the video games industry. I could pretty much end the discussion right there. I mean, what proof is there? There's none. What are they even talking about? So, I mean, if you gave me a little more substance there of what their argument is, but otherwise, I don't even know what they're talking about. This from Spirit Fractal. Hey, Rational National, don't you think Warren would not be able to even enforce her proposals as president, given that she is a proud, self-entitled capitalist? I don't think that would be the reason. I think the reason would be the powers that she's up against. So, yeah. I mean, I saw her in one interview talk about talk about what Bernie's been talking about in terms of needing outside pressure in order to get a lot of this stuff through. It's possible she'll begin to adopt that message as well, which, I mean, for her campaign, I think she should, because how you actually get these things done is really important. And if you don't have an answer for that, if you don't have an idea that's wildly different than what's happened in the past, then I don't think you should be taken as a front runner. That's why I think Bernie, again, is the front runner, because he has this idea of bringing in outside pressure from the people to put pressure on politicians. And Bernie is willing to go to all these different states where these conservative Democrats are and rally their voters to support various bills like Medicare for All, like Bernie going to West Virginia to push for Medicare for All, to get Joe Manchin to support it, which he's talked about openly in an interview on the Young Turks. So unless you have a strategy like that, which I don't think Warren is willing to challenge her own Democratic Party, her own Senate, then yeah, again, that's why Warren's is not my number one. Now there's a ton of people attacking me in the chat. Biden out. I don't know what that means. That's from Blue Light. This is from I'm So Base God. He was referring to Bernie supporting video game unions. Oh my. How would that ruin the industry? That would benefit it. So, short biography here. I used to work in the games industry. Kind of. So I didn't work on a game. I worked in marketing. I also wrote about games for a while. I have a couple articles actually on IGN. You could look it up. But I remember from the very beginning, I've been into games my whole life. I remember it was always normalized how many hours developers have to work to be able to work on video games. And the way it was always sold to people was, oh, you have the greatest job in the world. You get to work on a video game. Of course, it's okay that you work 80 hours a week. Of course, that's fine. It was normalized, and it's not normal. I don't care what industry you work in. I don't care. You should enjoy what you're doing. I mean, you shouldn't be punished for enjoying the career path that you chose. Of course, you should enjoy the fact that you work in a game. That doesn't mean that you get to be a slave. So Bernie should be getting more support because he supports video game unions. And he actually is getting, I've noticed online, some higher profile game journalists and some developers have been mentioning that they recognize that Bernie's on the correct side of this position. And Bernie, as far as I know, is the only one that has actually come out publicly for workers that work on games to organize and to unionize. So he has set himself apart in that sense. And that's a reason to actually support Bernie. I mean, the idea that you would not support him because he wants people that work on video games to actually have normal lives. I mean, whoever that person that wrote that made that video is, they're disgusting. That's the bottom line. Okay. King Louis 7777. This is also on Twitch. What are the chances if Warren wins that it turn into Obama 2.0? Yeah, that potential's there. I think Warren is a little better than Obama, to be quite honest with you. I think I also think the country is in a place now where they are more educated and more willing to push these politicians to be more progressive on these issues. So I don't think it'll be Obama 2.0. But I also don't think a Warren presidency would be anywhere near as transformative as a Bernie one would be. All right. I'm going to go back to Super Chat because you are the people that are truly supporting me. Where am I? Chase Chapman. It's on Super Chat. Do you think Tulsi will stand out above Warren in tonight's debates? Stand out above. Again, based on what? If they talk about foreign policy, yes, she will. If they talk about Wall Street reform, no, she won't. So depends on the topic. I also think Warren is just, look, some of you may disagree with me. I think Warren is more personable than Tulsi Gabbard is. I think whether it's because of her military service or whatever it is, Tulsi is she often, for good or for bad, she often lacks emotion. And I think some people like that. I think other people, your average voter, may think that she comes off as cold. Now, again, I'm not telling you how, I think Tulsi largely is solid. but that kind of demeanor can turn some people off, can turn the average voter off. So, when it comes to a debate like this, where there's so little time to actually say your point, performance is going to be so much of it. And I don't think Tulsi is able to have the same kind of performance as Elizabeth Warren does. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker, are you married? How old approximately? I'm not married. And I am approximately, I don't want to tell you. How about that? I'm in my 30s. I'll just say that. A lot of people think I'm way younger than I actually am, but I'm old. Union Jayapal for speaker, thoughts? 100%. So I think I actually tweeted this out. I think Pramila Jayapal is going to be a force at the Democratic Party in the coming years. I think she is an incredibly important voice. She just co-sponsored, or not co-sponsored, but is one of the sponsors of one of the bills in the House for Bernie's College for All plan. I believe Ilhan Omar is supporting or is sponsoring the student debt one, and then Jayapal is supporting the free college for all one. Either way, Jayapal is a hugely important voice, and I think she's going to continue to be a solid leader, and she would be fantastic as speaker. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker again. Dude, why don't you just give me $100 and just put all your questions into one? Who do you watch? Jimmy Dore, RT, ? So I don't watch a lot of progressive media. I have to, so it's a delicate balance, right? Because on one hand, I like to know what other people's arguments are, and that also helps inform my arguments. I mean, it's one thing to, there are people out there that I think try and shut them off from everybody else because they want their own opinions. But I think it's important to have your opinions informed by others, because oftentimes you may not think of a different perspective on an issue until you hear somebody else formulate it. So I do think it's actually important to kind of take in all these different perspectives. At the same time, you also want to ensure that you do have your own voice and you aren't just imitating somebody else. But yeah, I'm open to everybody. I watch a little bit of, TYT, Majority Report, Michael Brooks, Jimmy Dore, Humanist Report, Kyle Kalinske. I'm sure I forgot somebody. Ben Dixon actually has a great podcast. I've been listening to a lot more. And because I don't want to forget anybody, even Progressive Voice. I know a lot of you people like to criticize Progressive Voice, but I think Progressive Voice has, honestly, look, Progressive Voice, I think, is 18 years old, he said. I'm shocked at how rational Progressive Voice is. I was not that rational when I was 18 years old. I mean, he explains, even if you disagree with him on something, he explains why he feels the way he does. And it's very logical the way he breaks it down. I actually think he's going to be huge in the future. I think he'll keep growing. But let's see who else here. The Surfs, they have a good channel too. Philosophy Tube has a good, I was watching it today. They have a good, I'll say show. It's like a 30-minute episode. He has a good video on Ben Shapiro. Christo Avalis, if you're into Canadian politics, look up Christo Avalis, Aivalis. He is fantastic on Canadian issues. And Zero Books, another good one. All right, I think I mentioned everybody. I mean, there's a lot, to be quite honest with you. Oh, this channel. What do you mean? So look up What Do You Mean? ! Question mark. She has great videos. They're very different in style. So she kind of does these drawings while she's explaining what's going on. She's from Australia. Check her out. She's fantastic. Yeah. There's a lot. And I'm glad there are so many, because there's really, you want options, right? I mean, the more that there are out there, the better the better chance there is that we can actually impact culture and change people's minds. Because if it's just one of us out there, if it's just like, say, the Young Turks or Secular Talk, there's going to be a limit on how many people actually watch their stuff. And you want diversity. You want a lot of different voices, a lot of different perspectives, and having that out there and promoting those kinds of people. I think the left should actually do that a lot more. I think we should promote each other a lot more than we do, because you see the right, I mean, they're on each other's shows all the time. They have this ecosystem where it keeps people in, kind of locked into their worldview. And funny enough, they're all funded by the same people. It just so happens. Whereas us on the left, we're all crowdfunded. We have no damn money. I mean, I have a video breaking down my video on Crowder and Mazza. In the middle of that video, just watch the middle of that video. It breaks down how much money Steven Crowder and Shapiro and Prager spend on Facebook ads alone. So because that's public, I can look that stuff up. You can see how much money they spend on Facebook ads alone and compare that to left-wing channels that spend nothing, because we don't have that kind of money. We don't have money to spend thousands and thousands. I mean, Prager, just to spoil the video for a second, PragerU spent $3 million on Facebook ads alone in 1 year. Nobody on the left has that money. So understand the right. The reason why they focus so much on cultural issues is because it's a super hard sell to talk about how tax cuts for the rich is great. They don't talk about that very often. So they distract you with cultural issues. I mean, it's honestly gross what they do. And they do it well because they have so much money to be able to do it. All right, back to Super Chats. I don't even know how I got to that rant. Fabian B on Super Chat. All this political talk has me running hot. Better take off my pants. Well, if I took off my pants, you wouldn't see it. So it's possible I have no pants right now. But I do. Just in case, the YouTube algorithm is looking for anything to demonetize me on. Don't worry. I'm wearing pants. Isaac Hovend. Did you see Tuesday's Emerson poll? Looking good. Yeah, I did actually. I was going to do... I may still do a video on that, so I don't want to break it down. But basically, I think Bernie is now just 7 points behind Biden, when before Biden's been, running up the score. So as I said, every poll that comes out, Biden takes a smaller and smaller hit, while Warren and Bernie gain and gain and gain. So it's not going to last for Biden much longer, especially once these debates hit and people, the average person, really gets to see what Biden's all about. Because, I mean, it's sort of weird. Everyone knows who Biden is, but they don't really know who Biden is. Because he was picked as Obama's VP, nobody really looked into his past and was critical of what he did, because he was always attached to Barack Obama. But now that he's sort of like on his own here, you can really look at his history and see how wrong he's been on every issue. I mean, I can't even think of one issue where Biden was on the right side of history. I mean, yeah. So he has a horrible record. And him up there with Bernie Sanders on the same stage, again, as I said earlier, I'll do a debate preview night 2 tomorrow on that debate. But Bernie, I think, will go after him, and he has to. And it's not too hard to either, when Biden's record is so terrible. All right. All your names are so hard to read. Why Bojizos? Al Sharpton said, watch out for Tim Ryan. Yeah, okay. I saw that. I think he was on Morning Joe, and Al Sharpton. I was going to do an Al Sharpton impression. I just stopped myself. But Tim Ryan, you know what was so annoying about that conversation when he was on Morning Joe? So he had a great... Al Sharpton was at the South Carolina event interviewing all these politicians that just came off stage after their performance. Bernie got a huge reaction when Bernie went on Al Sharpton's show for the interview. Sharpton talked about, wow, the crowd here really loves you, all that stuff. Then on Morning Joe the next day, Al Sharpton doesn't mention Bernie at all. So Joe Scarborough asks him, oh, who stood out to you? Who did the crowd really like there in South Carolina? Brings up like Tim Ryan. Like, what? Tim Ryan? So maybe he mentioned him. I think he mentioned Cory Booker and Kamala Harris as well. But I think it's almost like they're trying to angle certain people, right? They're like, oh, well, hey, maybe Tim Ryan. Look, it's possible that was a hint of what's to come after this first debate. It's very possible that I'll be wrong and the media won't be pushing up Cory Booker, but instead they'll be pushing up Tim Ryan, because Tim Ryan's from Ohio. And because of that, he can win the Rust Belt. So that's possible. But Tim Ryan he doesn't have the he doesn't have the performance. I don't think Tim Ryan is able to really engage people enough to be able to gain any sort of momentum. So, yeah, Tim Ryan, laugh out loud. B. Campbell just sent me a super chat with no comment. Thank you. Liz, I'm so sorry I screw up all your names. Liz Bysamir. Maybe that was it. It's my 30th birthday. Can I get a shout out, please? Yes, you can. Liz, happy birthday. Thanks for the super chat. You are fantastic. And I apologize because I definitely, I'm sure, pronounced your name wrong. Brent Lambert, I think, sent me 2 super chats with no message. Thank you, Brent. Gonna refresh this page. And there's more. All right, let me get through some more of these, and then I'll take some random YouTube or Twitch stuff. All right. Oh my God. There's a lot more. I thought there was just 3 more. I missed. There's a lot more. Okay. Oh yeah. I shouldn't be disappointed. I'm happy. It's more that this room is so friggin' hot. Okay. Sarah with an I. I've never seen that. Saria? Maybe it's Saria. Saria Jameson. I appreciate the non-American viewpoint you offer. Thanks for what you do. I'm one of those weird centrist Dems, and you have helped to open my eyes to Bernie and others. American mainstream media doesn't necessarily cover all this. Thank you so much. I love to hear that. It's funny. I feel like I get, maybe it's the way I present my videos. I feel like I get more centrist turning progressives than I do people from the right turning progressive. There's somebody on Twitter yesterday put out a tweet and their video talking about how I helped them come from the right to progressive. So I love seeing that, and I have seen that a few times. But I feel like I also get a lot of people that are in the center or were in the center and are now progressive, which is awesome to see. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker again. What's Twitch, Twitter, and should I use? Old boy. Your sentences crack me up because they're not really formed properly, but I love your support and your enthusiasm is infectious. So Twitch, go to twitch.tv. It's mostly a gaming streaming platform, but there are some progressives on there now. Hassan Piker's on there. Progressive Voices on there. I think Humanist Report's on. I follow Humanist Report on there. I'm not sure if he's streamed on there yet. Bernie Sanders is on there. Destiny's on there. So there are some left-leaning people on there. It's mostly for games, though. I may one day, saying this, play a game on Twitch because I do play games. But, yeah, I haven't yet. Subversively Surreal. Thanks for the super chat. Subversively Surreal again. Majority Report loves you, David. Oh, thank you. I don't know what account this is, or do you represent the Majority Report? But thank you so much. I love you too. I got to say, Majority Report, I think, I have an audience that kind of comes from all corners. So there are people that watch Jimmy Dore that watch me, people that watch Majority Report that watch me, people that watch both that watch me, but largely those two audiences are divided because of their own beef. But understand here, Majority Report, if you've been turned off by them because of the Jimmy Dore stuff, whatever, watch this show. You will be informed. It may be hard for you to get into it at first, but I'm telling you, it's important to take in these various perspectives. You can't just stick to one perspective. You have to really open yourself up to all these different viewpoints, and it allows you to be better informed and to form better arguments and to better understand how the whole process works. So there are areas that Sam Cedar is very well educated on, and especially when it comes to him debating libertarians, I mean, there is endless entertaining content as well as educational content just in that alone. So if you haven't watched the Majority Report or if you've been turned off by it, check it out. I'm telling you, you will learn stuff. Pop Reality or Reality. Look, I can't read, so just letting you all know. Tulsi should do Bernie's dirty work and expose Warren. Yeah, look, I think it's very possible we're going to see Bernie and Warren on the same ticket. So I'm not sure if I would call it Bernie's dirty work. But if it comes to foreign policy, 100%. You have to expose just her, Warren's, like, I mean, maybe Warren's foreign policy has evolved and it has changed, but she hasn't talked about it. So I think it's important for Tulsi to really make that an issue and expose that. If for nothing else, then to maybe move Warren on these issues, because I think it's possible that Warren could change on foreign policy. But because she would have to change and wasn't there already, it's harder to trust her on those positions than it would be on issues, say, with like Wall Street. Jay Camacho, Hassan will never be as cute as David. Gotta say, I agree with that. That's funny, but thank you. That's very nice. Why can't we both be cute? I don't want anyone to fight. Let's all just get along. Pop Reality again. AOC's endorsement of Caban and then winning validates her necessary support of Bernie 2020. Yeah. It's funny when I read your comments, I have to read them a second time just to make sure because you expose some truth here. Yeah, this is the thing. So this actually made me think of something else, but if you noticed, so first of all, just to respond to this, Caban won, I forget her first name now, but the DA, the progressive DA in Queens, won last night, though it appears there's still some votes that haven't been counted yet. So, I don't like to call things unless they're 100%. But she won last night with the support or the endorsement of AOC and Bernie. But also, Elizabeth Warren also endorsed Caban as well. So Bernie wasn't the only one there. But when it comes to this, actually, something else that happened recently, Bernie's, why am I forgetting this? Bernie's student debt. So Bernie's student debt plan, he launched that with AOC, Jayapal, and Ilhan Omar. Now, why is that important? Because Elizabeth Warren also has a student debt plan, and they didn't come out as sponsors of that plan, but they did with Bernie. So in my mind, this was the endorsement. I mean, if you're going to draw a line as people that are if you're AOC and Jayapal and Ilhan Omar, and you're going to sponsor Bernie's student debt bill over Warren's, aren't you kind of choosing your candidate right there? So this may be a sign of an official endorsement that eventually comes, but I mean, I think that kind of gave it away. So look, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up in case they change their mind, but it would be super weird for those three politicians to then endorse Elizabeth Warren after they just sponsored Bernie's student debt plan over Elizabeth Warren's. So I think it's very possible they're going to come out and endorse endorse Bernie Sanders. Brent Lambert on Super Chat. My girlfriend and I really enjoy your coverage of events. Thank you, and keep it up. Thank you. Mark Goodbody. What's funny is I was going to shoot more videos for today and put them out. This live stream is lasting a little longer than I thought it would, but it's all good. I'm having a good time. Sorry. Mark Goodbody. What do you think about the Donald finally being quarantined? What? What are you talking about? Was Donald Trump quarantined? I don't know what this is about. Or who the Donald is, if the Donald is not Donald Trump. I have no idea what you're talking about, but maybe somebody else will clarify. Zuggy the Chess God. Recommendations. Watch Some More News with Cody Johnston's new video destroying Shapiro. I do want to watch that. I saw him tweet it out. It reminds me of the same takedowns you do. Good stuff. Awesome. Yeah, I want to watch that one. And also, as I said earlier, watch Philosophy Tube's takedown of Shapiro's, his recent video on Shapiro as well, which I hear is really good. Oh, is the Donald a Reddit page? Is that what you're talking about? Because somebody else says, Catface, do you ever browse the Donald or /Paul just for amusement? I don't really use Reddit all that often, so no. But occasionally I'll peek in a Reddit, see what's going on, but I don't have time. James Black, thanks for the super chat. There's no comment. Greg Dupile, opinions on Tiffany Caban's victory. Yeah, I was actually going to do a video on that today. So I mentioned it earlier just now. But I do want to do a video on that because it was massive. I mean, you have somebody who, much like Larry Krasner, Philly's DA, is taking a whole different approach to criminal justice. So yeah, it's I plan to do a video on that, so I don't want to talk too much about it right now. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker, how can we stop Pompeo, Bolton, Abraham, Iran, Syria, war, and most importantly, free speech on mainstream media plus money in politics? Love your work. So do my 5 kids based in England, but U.S. are important to us and world politics. I am dying and worried for my kids. Yeah. There's not much you can do to stop what's going on except talk about it and inform people and support channels like mine, like others that are talking about these issues. That's all we can really do. Isaac Hovind, considering opening a rational national Discord. Yeah. Again, one of the many things to add to my pile of things I would like to do if I was more than one person. I would like to have a Discord, but yeah, I don't know how to start one. I'm sure I could look it up, but anytime spent looking up how to start a Discord is time taken away from researching a video or editing or shooting. So that's the gamble I'm always having to or not the gamble. The time I'm always having to juggle just to figure out what I'm doing. Okay. There's more. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker again. When did you start YouTube and why? I started YouTube, this channel, 2015, the end of 2015, the beginning of 2016. And it was after I ran as a Green Party candidate in Canada. I wanted to continue talking about issues that that I thought were important. And I'd always been really into American politics. I mean, people always ask me, why do you cover American politics more than Canadian politics? I'm just more into it. I mean, and on top of that, there's also just the fact that America has a huge influence on the rest of the world. Oftentimes what the U.S. does leads in terms of how Canada acts on foreign policy issues or, I mean, a whole host of issues. So, yeah, generally just I got into American politics really even before Canadian politics when I was in my 20s. And that kind of helped me to start my interest in this area and then eventually, run as a candidate in Canada and then start this channel. That's how it all began. Do you know if they will be asking same questions to candidates on night 1 and night 2 of debates? That's from Desiree Alred. That's a good question. I doubt it. And I doubt it because that's be cheating. I mean, if that was the case, that the night 2 candidates have a much better time at answering these questions than the night 1 do. But yeah, look, the reality is the questions will likely be more tailored towards the individuals. So maybe they'll pull out something like, "Oh, Warren, you said this about healthcare. What do you mean?" Like I think it'll be more like that as opposed to kind of just having flat out, what is your position on climate change? I think it'll be more geared towards each candidate as a way to diversify both debates and not make it, the same questions each time, because that would be kind of weird. But that's a good question though. Matthias N. Would you consider coming to Real Time with Bill Maher? Absolutely. Is he going to invite me on? Absolutely not. But I would definitely go on if I was invited. Have you seen my videos taking down Bill Maher? I do not think I'm going to be invited on the show. Andre Alexander. My super chat never appeared, so I had to send another one. What are your thoughts on a Sanders Warren ticket? I would love it. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the obvious ticket, to be honest with you. And not just for, not just what I think, but in terms of how it would be accepted. Here's what you have to think about, because I know I got the Tulsi people right now in the chat going, but how about Bernie and Tulsi? Here's the only thing with that. Sanders, the media is a lot more open to Elizabeth Warren than they are to Tulsi Gabbard. Now, that's not to say that should be, the one thing that Sanders looks at when picking a running mate, but that is a factor. It matters that Warren is embraced more by the mainstream press. It matters that Warren has or is nationally known. It matters that Warren has unleashed some solid policy proposals when it comes to income inequality in Wall Street. So, look, all that stuff matters. At the same time, you could also argue that Warren is better used in a different part of the administration than as VP, since VP doesn't really do too much or doesn't have to do too much. So you could argue that picking Warren is kind of a waste as a VP choice. So I don't know who Sanders would pick. I think Warren is the most likely choice for VP unless Warren wants a different position. But I do think that the ball will be in Warren's court. I think if Sanders wins the nomination, I think he'll straight up ask Warren, if you want the VP spot, it's yours. If you want something else, let me know. So I think that's how it'll go. Pop Reality. I love you, my Canadian brother, and right on. I don't believe anyone but Bernie will fight for the policies that'll save the planet. That's what's literally at stake, people. Yep. Completely agree. And thank you for the super chat. I should maybe be mentioning all the numbers, like the different amounts of money you're all giving me here, because Pop Reality just gave me $10, which is amazing. Somebody gave me 50 NOK, which I think is kroner. I'm not sure. So that may be $2. I don't know. But thank you all for your support so far. It's amazing. Another super chat here. Dan Cathor, showing love from a longtime Kyle Kalinske sub. Thank you so much for joining on. I'm guessing you learned about me from Kyle Kalinske. I know he's mentioned me a couple times. All right. I'm still sweating, but you know what? I'm going to sweat it out. I'm going to go to Twitch. Yeah, Twitch. See what's going on in Twitch. And I'm seeing some, I'm scrolling up here, seeing some icons with Hassan. I'm seeing Jank with Jank flexing. If you go to the Twitch chat, you know what I'm talking about. Y'all got some crazy icons here, or emoticons, or whatever the hell they're called, emojis. Here's a question from Bargain Bin Brian. Why you think they just announced the student debt forgiveness plan together yesterday? Oh, I was replying to somebody else. Yeah, I can't jump into this chat because I don't know what the hell's going on. From Jack Nixon. What do you people think about a Sanders-Harris ticket? I know it sounds bad, but it could be a strategic choice to appease the establishment, don't you think? I would not choose Kamala Harris as my VP. I mean, it's possible. It's possible you can get her over to your side. What honestly I would worry about, look, I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but at that point, if you have Harris in the VP spot, if Bernie goes away, then the establishment's happy again. So you don't want to create a scenario where you have the VP as somebody that the establishment really loves, even if they don't like Bernie, because that wouldn't work out. You need somebody that is actually has a history of pushing a similar message out there that Bernie has. So it's going to be Gabbard. It's going to be Warren. It's maybe Nina Turner. I would love Nina Turner to be the VP, but again, because she's only been a state senator, I'm not sure how that would be seen by the media. But again, if you're up against Trump, what is there to complain about? So I think it's very possible in that sense that Nina Turner could be the VP choice, because the other choice is just, you can't pick. I mean, there's no discussion there. So yeah, I think it's completely open. I think his VP spot is not, it's not picked yet, but I think it's very likely Warren. That said, it really could be anybody as long as they've been pushing out a consistently progressive message and have shown to be a fighter on these issues. Kamala Harris, not the choice you want. I like this one. Oogle Bison 8, maybe that's your name. Hey man, you along with Secular Talk, Jimmy Dore, Sam Cedar have converted me from a Hillary voter to a Bernie or bust voter. Well, I agree with most of what you said. I'm not with the bust part. This is what I think when it comes to voting. Voting is a tool. Voting is a tool. You have to build, the real work is done between elections. You have to build movements. You have to volunteer if you can. You have to donate to these candidates that actually want to fight for you. You have to be engaged. You have to build movements in between elections. Voting does not build movements. It just doesn't. The actual work is done between elections. Voting is a tool. So, look, if you're in California, yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. Vote third party if you don't like the choices. Same with New York. But pretty much any other state now, a lot of states, even if they seem like they're Democratic, as we saw in 2016, they could change. So I think it's important to vote for the person that's closest, the person that's closest to your position that can actually win, and then put pressure on that person to support what you support, because you have absolutely no power at all if it's the Republican that wins that election, like we're seeing right now. So you have to take into account all the damage, even just the cultural damage, the social damage that Trump has done to the country since winning. Not to mention what's happening on the border, what's happening in these camps. I mean, you can't just ignore all that stuff. So there are real differences here. So the way I see voting, and look, I've evolved on this. I used to think as well, oh, you should vote your conscience because you got to vote, don't waste your vote on someone you don't really believe in. But that's actually a very selfish way to look at voting. You have to look at voting as a tool. You have to consider all the scenarios or all the, you have to consider, can your candidate win? If your candidate cannot win, if the movement isn't there for them, if there just is not the support and you're just hoping that everybody's going to wake up and tune in and vote like you do, that's not how it works. You have to actually build movements in order to win elections and create the change necessary to make the changes that you want to see. Voting is a tool. But look, I think I have better arguments for that as well. I just can't think of them all right now, but I've been changed on this. I'll just say that. I used to be like some of you out there, but I've changed my mind. Looking on Twitch. J Rocks, David, would you MMA fight Doug Ford for charity? Absolutely. I don't think he'd fight me. Though, to be honest with you, Doug Ford's a big guy. I'm not sure there's much, if any, muscle in that big guy, but he's a big guy. So it may be a hard fight. I mean, I'm 6 feet, but Doug Ford is 6 feet and 6 feet around. So you got a bowling ball like that. I guess I could just push him over and he'll roll off. But I don't know how that fight would actually conclude. I would like to think that I would win, but you never know. But would I do it for charity? I would do that. Someone else asked about a Discord server, or unless that's the same person, Jack Nixon. Yeah, one day Discord. Okay, I'll be straight up honest with you. I'm not going to be looking at Twitch anymore because I got to start shutting down and drying my face from all this sweat. Let me check out Super Chat. And then there's more Super Chats. The support is honestly amazing. Like, this is why I can keep doing this. My videos are still getting demonetized on a regular basis. My Meghan McCain video yesterday got demonetized. Let me tell you what happened, actually. I uploaded the video I uploaded it with there's a part in the video where I read from an ABC article, and I have the article up on screen, and it has a word in there that likely triggered the algorithm. So when I noticed that the video got demonetized immediately, this is what I did. I deleted that upload. I re-uploaded a new version that didn't have the screenshot, but I was still reading the same article, and then it wasn't demonetized. So I thought the algorithm didn't catch it because the word wasn't on screen. So I thought it was fine. This was like, 10 minutes. It wasn't demonetized yet. The video was already processed. I thought it was fine. I put the video out 2 minutes later, demonetized. I was like, oh my God. And it's not even that, it's just demonetized. I'm sure it was also delisted. There are some videos where you can tell. I mean, if you put out videos at a certain time, you have an idea of what to expect in terms of views. That video was not getting what I expected it to, so it was likely delisted as well. But I submitted it for review. It was remonetized early this morning, so it's fine now. But that's what happens in a lot of these situations. YouTube tells us nothing, so it's hard to know what hits the algorithm, what doesn't. We don't know what's acceptable, what's not, which creates this whole murky area where we're not exactly sure what we can and can't say. So we're second guessing ourselves sometimes because we want our videos to reach as many people as possible. But at the same time, we have to still deliver the news. So if I'm talking about the border crisis and what's happening on the border, it's kind of hard to ignore some of those details. And same with other issues that may hit the algorithm. So it's a constant guessing game. But support like these super chats, like Patreon, like joining on YouTube, like PayPal donations, all of it allows me to continue making this content. Okay. So I said bye to Twitch, but I'm still streaming on there. Super chats. The Lorax, would you consider running for office again with the Green Party or any other party? I'm asked this question a lot, actually, including from people in my own family that would like me to run again. I don't think so. I highly doubt it. I mean, I could be somebody else in 20, 30 years. Maybe then I'd want to run. But it's really a whole different thing. You have to be a certain kind of person, I think, to be a politician. I don't like being on other people's schedules. That's all being a politician is. You're always on somebody else's schedule. You're always running around, talking to somebody, talking to some group. I love downtime. I need my downtime. I need to recharge. And that just, if you're a politician, if you want to be a good one, you want to actually care about people, you can't do that. And I don't know how to be that person where I'm always running around. I mean, Bernie has way more energy than I do. I don't know how the hell he does it, but I just can't do that. So unless I change as a person, it's very unlikely that I'll run again. Sheen V, thank you for the super chat. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker, back at it. It is cost effective going live so early. It cost effective. Again, I love your sentences because they make no sense. Love you. Is it cost effective going live so early? I don't know what that means, but yes, it is. No, I really don't know what you're talking about. But yeah. Robin Bastian, do you have any policy reservations about Gabbard's record? That aside, will Ontario sway back Liberal since our boy Doug Ford is now in the gutter? So first, Gabbard. Yeah, I do. She said stuff about torture in, I think, 2014 that I thought was insane. She wasn't sure if torture is good use or not, or if it's effective or not. I don't know, something like that. No, the answer to torture is always no. So she had a weird thing on that. She had a weird vote when it came to refugees. So she was voting against taking in more refugees. Look, there's more to that policy, but from what I've read, she voted against taking in more refugees when Canada took in a ton. We took in, I believe, more per capita, a lot more per capita than the U.S. did. So some of those issues I'm not clear on. She defended Joe Biden a few days ago. I thought that was super weird. But when it comes to, who's on stage, who's out of these 20 candidates, she's still likely top 3. So it's, I think that part of it is clear. Oh, sorry. The second part of the question. Will Ontario sway back Liberal since our boy Doug Ford is now in the gutter? I really hope not, and I hope they sway NDP. So NDP right now is the official opposition. Liberals were basically wiped out in Ontario in that election. It's possible they'll build back up simply because of name recognition and people know the Liberal Party. But I really hope that Andrea Horwath is able to work on her or build on the seats that she's won or that party's won in Ontario and be able to form a government next time. But it's 3 years away. Who knows what's going to happen? I think it's also very possible Doug Ford is going to step down as leader before the next election because he already is so hated. All right. Zuggy the Chess God. I'm waiting for when Bernie announces Turner as VP candidate and the smear pieces that will follow. Black women subservient to him. Bernie is racist. Look, it's very possible. That'd be such a stupid attack, but anything's possible. I mean, they attack Bernie on everything. So totally possible. And anytime he does try to, reach across the aisle or do something that, should make some people that don't like him happy, they find a way to attack him anyways. So they're always going to attack him because their lives depend on it. Their livelihoods depend on it. Don't get too, bogged down by it. I only cover it because I want to debunk people that are maybe taken in by those dumb arguments. So I don't really cover it because it bothers me all that much, though that's not true. It does bother me a little bit because it does brainwash people. And that's why I have to do the unbrainwashing or the de-brainwashing. All right. Let me see if there's any more super chats before I get out of here. How are there so many? There's more. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker is back at it again. Why many DC candidates? Is it ploy for super delegates? Possibly. Very possible. I think I answered that earlier. But yeah, it's possible they're trying to build up some delegate counts to work against Bernie in the end. But yeah, again, we don't know. It's too far away. Let's worry about the here and now. Mephisto, I can't read this name. Mephistopheles. Tournament debates, #tournament debates, 1-on-1, winner advances. I don't know what that means, but thank you for the massive super chat, 77 Canadian dollars. Thank you. I think that's the biggest one so far. Damn. Liz, buy smear again. The one it's her birthday. Just join your Patreon. Keep the good work. Thank you so much. therationalnational.com/join or go to patreon.com/therationalnational. That's how you get to the Patreon page. If you're on Twitch and you want to, I think there's a way to subscribe. I'm still learning how Twitch works, but if there's a way to support me financially on there, there may not be yet because I'm still early. But for now, Patreon's what I know. So Patreon or join on YouTube or PayPal as well also works. Or Super Chats are also awesome. Okay. Retro Pirate Truth Seeker again. If subscribed and alert, do we always get a reminder? You should. So if you're subscribed and you hit the bell under the video or on the channel, you should get a reminder notification anytime I go live or put a video out. So that too, actually, I'm so glad Retro Pirate is a huge supporter here because they are mentioning some important things. If you are watching me right now, hit the bell button that you see under the video so you can actually watch my videos when they come out, or when they come out. Because YouTube also does this thing where even if you're subscribed to me, they don't always notify you when a new video comes out. They only do that now if you hit the bell. Shadow Zach 09 has come Obama. How come, I think is what he meant. How come Obama got a pass for bailing out the banks in 2008 and the progressives barely criticized him for it? Yeah, I mean, that was kind of that was like his 8 years. Obama was largely uncriticized his entire 8 years by MSNBC, by CNN. And when he was criticized, it was from the right. It was because Republicans were angry about his tan suit or something, and then CNN and MSNBC and other mainstream outlets had to buy into that narrative. They never actually attacked him from the left, except for the Young Turks. That's actually how I found the Young Turks. I was impressed by, I think this is back in maybe 2011, 2012, when I was really getting into the Obama Mitt Romney race. I saw some Young Turks videos, and I was impressed that they were like going after Obama and MSNBC. I'm like, but this is like the left-wing media. Why are they attacking their own? And then everything kind of fell into place. And I understood, oh, it's the money. The Young Turks is not propped up by certain interests, and they aren't trying to chase these politicians to have them on their show, so they're not always being kind to them, that kind of thing. So, so there were people out there that were criticizing Obama, just not largely not in the mainstream press, though I'm sure you could definitely find articles out there in New York Times, Washington Post, the occasional article out there that actually was critiquing Obama on those various things. But thanks for the super chat. And the $10. Again, some amazing donations here. Every time I refresh, Retro Pirate's back. Retro Pirate, Truth Seeker. Do you weed? Drink? How do you cope with reality? No lady. I didn't say I didn't have a lady. I just said I'm not married. But weed, I do weed. I do drink. And I cope with reality, maybe with a lady as well. So I do all three. Pranay, super chat. Why are so many of your fans so uninformed about Tulsi's terrible record? Why do they lie to protect Demi Dore? I'm Canadian, FYI. I try to create an environment where everybody's accepted. So I try to focus more on the politicians, the issues. When it comes to Tulsi, I don't cover Tulsi that often, so that may be why a lot of people are not as informed on some of her record. I'm honest about who I support, so I'm all Bernie. I think Warren's a clear second. I think Tulsi's third. The rest of the list, I don't really know. I don't think there is a rest of the list. But yeah, so because I have that environment where people from all different that watch all different shows watch my show, they're going to be Jimmy Dore supporters. I was on Jimmy's show a month ago. I have it. So I don't believe he ever released the interview. I don't know why, but I have. If you want to hear the interview or the discussion, I have it in podcast form at SoundCloud.com/The Rational National. So if you go to SoundCloud.com can't even talk. SoundCloud.com/The Rational National. Scroll down or search it if you can. Search for Jimmy's name, and you will find the interview in audio form. But I think, look, this is how I feel about these different progressive shows. We all serve various audiences. There's some crossover. Sometimes there's no crossover. But we all serve a purpose. So, look, I think as I've read a few times here, there are people that I think I can get from the center. So largely that's kind of how I frame my videos usually, is talking to people that may be in the center, and I try to pull them and or let them see the light and have them come a little more to the progressive side. There are shows out there. I think Kyle Kulinski appeals a lot, or can turn a lot of people that are right wing to progressives. I've seen that a lot. We all serve different audiences. I think the Young Turks has almost maybe a similar audience to mine, though theirs is obviously a lot bigger. But they also kind of speak to that centrist position. They get a lot of viewers from that watch cable news, so similar strategy there in terms of how they at least present the news items. So we all serve different audiences, right? I think it's very possible Jimmy Dore speaks to a lot of people that were Trump supporters, and Jimmy Dore is allowing them to see a different perspective, at least in terms of policy. So, I mean, Jimmy supports, Medicare for all, supports higher wages, all those things. I think he's able to get some of those people to see a different perspective that they may have not seen before. And those people may have not been grabbed by me or by the Majority Report or by somebody else, but it's still important that Jimmy's doing that work. So just because there isn't, you can't like everybody, doesn't mean that we all don't have our place somewhere. So I think it's important to realize that. Don't be so concerned about having other people think the same way you do, as long as in the end, when it comes to voting, that's where we could have our disagreements and about how to actually go forward with the vote. But understand really what underlies all this is building actual movements on the ground, building volunteer bases, building something up like the DSA. I think it's, look, if you want to get involved and you don't know what to do, search up the closest DSA in your area, the closest DSA chapter in your area, and join them and get involved that way. So I think that's really right now the best way to get involved in what we're all trying to accomplish here. But yeah, we all serve a purpose. All right, Ben George. Consciousness cannot experience its own unconsciousness. Oh, we're already getting deep. You will always experience something by way of the fact that it's impossible to experience nothing. This is the logic of eternal consciousness. That's profound. Consciousness cannot experience its own unconsciousness. Yeah, I think I'm not ready to get into a big spiritual discussion about how I think of the whole world, but I'll just say this. I think there's energy. Everything is energy, right? So I don't think there's like, pearly gates with, I don't think God is a man and all that crap, but I think we're all energy. So our energy, whether it's, say you pass on, I think it's absorbed sort of back into the collective energy that's all around us. And whether you think of that as, a next life, or just think of that as our energy moving on in other forms, I think that's kind of how I think of it. But yeah, this kind of stuff is always, I used to be a lot more into talking about this kind of thing, because it's fun just to kind of explore, and because we have no answers, because we don't actually know what life is, it's fun to kind of brainstorm or just explore the different ideas and on what you think, why you think this all exists to begin with. I mean, we know there are different dimensions. We don't really know what purposes they serve. So understand there is, like, everything that exists, like energy, consciousness, I think everything is still based in science. But understand there's science outside of what we know as science. So outside of our universe, we know our universe was created through, the Big Bang, but we don't know what created the Big Bang. So that's the kind of thing where you start thinking about it and you just, you get down a wormhole of just trying to understand the purpose of life or the meaning of life. And that kind of stuff is fun. Why Bejo Zizo? Probably the worst pronunciation I've ever had of anything. Why Bejo? I think you sent a previous message in. I probably pronounced it better then. You should talk with Nico House about Tulsi versus Warren. I'm not interested. What's the point? Let's see how this whole thing plays out. But look, I don't want to. I'm gonna stop commenting. I'm gonna just stop myself. There's more. Andrew Dewar. I've been on this for 2 hours. Oh my God. Andrew Dyer or Dewar. Who will get the most softball questions tonight? That's a good question. Because it's so short format, let me put up why I was here. There we go. There it is. Yeah, because the format's so weird, because there's so many candidates on stage. Let me see here. Looking at this list, who will get the most softball questions? Probably Amy Klobuchar. I'm going to say Amy Klobuchar. Because Amy Klobuchar is exactly what, the mainstream press likes. She talks about working across the aisle and being pragmatic, and meaning I don't do shit for anybody except for my corporate donors, but that's what they like. So I think she'll get quite the softballs. But I also don't think there's going to be many questions because there's so few candidates. So yeah, it's hard to really know any of that. All right. The next time I refresh and there's no super chats, I am closing the super chat window. And if there's any more left in the future, maybe I'll answer them in a Patreon post. but refreshing, no more. All right, closing that. Closing Twitch. All right, I think I'm just about good. 635 watching on YouTube. That's awesome. All right, let me just. Why do I care so much? Why do I care so much about talking with my awesome audience? It's because you're all awesome. Every time I feel like I want to go, I actually just want to read more posts. So let me just grab one. Here we go. This one's a member. By the way, yeah, when you become a member, you get the big M beside your name on YouTube. A member on YouTube, you get the M on your name on YouTube. C. Hendrickson, this is a member. I hope Triumph the Insult Comic Dog will be in attendance tonight. Yeah, I like when that dog comes around. I feel like we don't see him too often. I did a video. Who was it? I think it was Ted Cruz. I think Triumph the Insult Dog talked to Ted Cruz at some event. This may have been when he was going up against Beto O'Rourke, and I did a video on that because it was fantastic. All right. Oh, Jesus. The Jimmy and Sam people are going at each other. Stop it, guys. Just, you're not going to convince each other. Understand you serve two different audiences. So all I can do is talk to both of you and help you understand that there is something that we all offer. But that's about it. All right. I think that's it. I should go now. But I'm having a good time. I opened this beer 2 hours ago. And I have not finished it. And it's probably boiling hot now because of this room. All right. Sorry, I don't want to bore you all. Let me get out of here. I already closed the super chats, so that's all done. All right. I was going to do more videos today, but this went 2 hours, so I'm not exactly sure if I will, but we'll see what happens. I will say I'm definitely watching the debate tonight, obviously. I just did a whole preview on it, and I will cover the results tomorrow. And maybe if I'm right about something, if I predicted something correctly, maybe I will clip that to show how brilliant I am. Even though these are all just educated guesses and I'm not special whatsoever. Okay. Thank you all for watching.